For 96 years, the Border Patrol has proudly patrolled the shores of the Great Lakes. The very roots of the organization go back to Detroit and the agency's inception in the early 1920s.
May 28, 1924, the Border Patrol was formed from I believe it was a mounted guard, and it was to deal with illegal immigration and prohibition. And so the Detroit sector opened up, was the first sector, and then El Paso was 3 weeks behind the Detroit sector.
With prohibition being enacted into law, the United States needed a uniform law enforcement agency to patrol its borders and keep liquor and rum runners from entering illegally.
In Detroit, the primary function was a lot of the rum running, Whiskey River type of stuff. Due to the proximity with Canada, there was so much illegal liquor being run across the river. The reports that I've read over the years was the Purple Gang, which was a notorious gang in Detroit. They ran a lot of liquor for Al Capone.
To be able to secure the border and keep organized crime at bay in the 1920s, the Border Patrol relied heavily on wooden speedboats, which at the time were state-of-the-art pleasure craft. A vast majority of patrols then and now are conducted on the water.
And they weren't law enforcement boats back then. They were just pleasure craft that were converted over for law enforcement needs. I spoke to some older gentlemen that back in the late 80s. They told me when they were teens, they used to run their rowboats or little motorboats across, loaded up with liquor from Canadian Club, and bring it over to the United States.
When the rivers and lake froze in the winter, new methods were needed to bring the bootleg liquor across the border.
And so there was, they drove the liquor across Lake St. Clair in the wintertime. They'd take old junkers and they would bolt like 2x12s perpendicular across a frame in case the vehicle broke through the ice.
When things didn't go according to the smugglers' plan, violence often ensued. The Border Patrol knew the job was going to be tough, and the men who signed on knew what lay ahead.
You know, there's no radio communications. Basically, they had a badge and a gun, and they went out and patrolled and looked for bad guys. And you know, we lost all of our Border Patrol agents that were killed in the line here in Detroit sector. Happened during Prohibition.
After the tumultuous years of Prohibition, the Border Patrol shifted its resources to combat illegal immigration on the southwest border.
We continued to focus on immigration, mainly illegal immigration. The vast majority of the illegal immigration was coming across the southwest border, the Mexican border. And then, of course, after 9/11, we realized that protecting our nation's borders was paramount. And so we saw a building up of the manpower on the northern border to where we're at today. I believe we're in the Detroit sector somewhere in the neighborhoods of 500 agents.
The men and women of Detroit sector stand ready to protect our nation's borders, just as they have for nearly a century.